So what happened when we had that warm spell and it rained a bunch is this river got really full. But then when it cooled down, it got really cold really fast, and it stayed that way for several days. So we got ice up at the really, really high level. And then the water supply for the river kind of went away, and the river level dropped. So you see we have things like this, almost like a little bit of a waterfall there. And you can also see that there's ice falling away all over the place, like there. There's also some random piece of debris there that got caught in that tree that came downstream when it was flooding. So we recently made a video about what it's like to have a very warm, wet spell in the middle of winter. Well, things changed. Things got very cold very fast. And when things change that quickly, it creates some problems. In fact, it's created some problems we've never had before. In particular because we had all of this water that didn't have time to drain anywhere, and it froze in place. So keep watching to see what happens when we have a weather whiplash event like this. Something that happens when it's really warm and everything melts and starts flowing, and then it freezes up really quickly, is we get things like this slush hole here. Now, my wife was down here earlier today, and she said that she was poking around in there trying to clear it out, and there was a bunch of fuel in there that somebody, looks like they broke their fuel line driving over it, because as the water flows, people splash through it. It splashes that water up onto the icy part, and that water that gets splashed onto the ice, it grows into new ice. And so the icy part keeps getting bigger and bigger. And as long as people keep driving through it, it won't get a chance to freeze over. So you can see, even though it's in the single digits Fahrenheit, this water is still flowing. Water retains its heat a lot better than air. And in fact, you can see the discoloration there of the fuel spill in the road. Yeah, water retains its heat much better than air, so it, the bigger the amount of water, the slower it freezes. And when it's flowing, it also has a tendency to freeze a little bit more slowly. And so people keep driving through, splashing, the ice grows and grows, and it becomes like driving off of a ledge or a curb. And if you've got a low clearance vehicle, you're not making it out. We've already had one neighbor get stuck in here. So yeah, let's hope I can make it through. So when we store our snow machines, we prop up the back end with wood to keep the tracks off the ground so that they don't freeze into the ground. But with the recent rain and flooding, water has basically come up out of the ground. It's not really drained very well, especially in this spot. So what's happened is, even though the snow machines were propped up several inches, the tracks and the skis are fully buried in ice. Unless it warms up a lot, we're not going to snow machine anywhere for some time. So here's the other side of the snow machines. I got to be careful where I'm stepping because it's real icy. So this one is just on the right, the tracks are just totally submerged. The skis of this skidoo here, the back ends are. So I don't know how we're going to get those out. Megan is upset because we had our dog sleds sitting on pallets. I don't know if you can see this, but they're sitting on pallets, but the water came up above pallet level. So now the dog sleds are also stuck in ice. This one and that one there. Wish I had something to show for scale. I guess I could put a boot down in there, but we're talking good 8-10 inches high around here. But it is still flowing. It's been about, well, it's been quite a few hours since I came through earlier, but it is still flowing. Yeah, this is quite a massive pit of slush. In the ditch, which is normally low and boggy, the ice is now strong enough that people have been driving in what used to be a soggy ditch. So let's give that a try and hope the ice holds up. And it did. So it's just crazy to see all of the overflow bubbling out everywhere and freezing. But this area here is normally very low and wet. And if you look here, you could see like the tops of willows, but there's probably a couple of feet of water in there. And it did finally ice over, so now everybody is driving around the slush hole. If people keep doing that, that will allow it to freeze in. Although that's still barely frozen. If somebody drives through that, it's going to break back open. But that'll give us the opportunity, holy cow, this mound is huge. That'll give us the opportunity to chisel some of this down. I mean, this is like, good lord. It's hard to give the appropriate visual context for how big this mound is right here. We're not going to be able to drive around it all winter. At some point, things will warm up and this ice will become unstable. So we've got to get this thing cleaned up in the meantime. Jeez. Here's another spot that would be a slush hole. You can see it kind of started to be one. There's a big ridge on the side there. But this big pond next to green grass that I noted last week, there was a big old pond here, puddle, and green grass there. But because there's enough room to go around it, it was able to ice in, and now it's just totally easy to drive across the top of it. So that's one way to solve this problem, but I can't exactly tell people, hey, stop driving anywhere so that this one really bad slush hole can freeze up. I know, I think there's a guy who lives on the road that works night shifts too, so it's like, I can't be like, hey, don't go to work because it needs to freeze over in the night. And there's also a house on this road where I think there's a good chance that people trade money for illicit substances. And you know, you can tell tweakers not to drive around in the middle of the night, but it won't do any good. So the amount of ice that's around the snow machines, it's almost not even worth it to try to chisel them out this way. Especially because we won't be able to get in these areas. So getting the snow machines out is going to have to go on hold, and that's fine because because we've had less than 2 inches of snow since it got cold again, and we can't even really ride the snow machines on that amount of snow. But we can use the dog sled, and since that's much easier to get out and much less frozen in, that's where we're going to focus our energy. I started making pretty good progress here on this back runner, but we are essentially human jackhammers at the moment. So I got all underneath there, and we were able to get beneath it. And can you help me pull this out, Megan? It's wedged underneath the metal part of that other sled. Let's see what the runners look like.
I'm trying to just gently stuff it away.
Any damage to the plastic?
I don't know, they look okay for now. I was more concerned about the water getting in there and splitting the layers apart, which is what it kind of did, fortunately.
I guess that's our next project, is working on that one.
Now that we have messages working okay.
So if you ever hear somebody say that it's nice to have a midwinter warm-up in Alaska as a relief from all the cold, trust me, it creates way more problems than it's worth. Oh, the brake is still iced down?
Yep. Great success.
Let's have a look at that runner.
Yeah, that's good. Fine. Oh, that's good.
That brand new plastic you put on
It's all good.
is all good. Okay.
Are the runners salvageable?
Yeah, they're great.
Nice!
It worked out okay.
And here Megan had brought this out. Turns out we won't need to use it. Save ourselves a little bit of gas. Good dog. Oh, he's stuck on the tree?
I can try and get unstuck.
Yeah, use the word hike.
Good dog. Hey. Hey, good dog. I'm going to be a dog sweater when I grow up. Hey. Good dog.
So we're running a heater to do some melting here. I hope I don't slip and fall on the ice, but that ski is free now. Sometime soon we'll hopefully have a functioning snow machine. So if you see how there's these holes in the track, that means that the ice that we see underneath, down here, is connected to the ice beneath the snow machine in general through holes just like those. So we need to melt out all of this and probably chisel out all of this before we can get it free. But Megan had that heater running on it a lot through there because these are so close together we can't really do any chiseling on this side. Ah, so wet. Well, Megan's putting the heater away. We're having to give up for now. We had a heater on it for hours yesterday and hours today, and it's done some melting around here. And if you look here, you can see like we've gotten like inches worth of ice away from the track. But we still can't get it free. We just need it to get warm enough again for this to melt around the tracks. I got a fair bit of ice out from under there, but for now we're just going to be without snow machines. So this is a bit of a drainage path that we have. It kind of drains off of this muskeg here through this culvert, and there was so much water, but it froze so quickly that, like, it's quite literally, like, the culvert is like full of water. Frozen water. I should say the culvert is full of ice. It's entirely possible that with all the ice freezing in there and then expanding, it's going to destroy this culvert. Have a look at the other side here. You can see where the water was flowing into the culvert. I guess there's a tiny gap there. So hopefully the culvert is not destroyed. Yeah, this is just a great illustration of how much water there was and how quickly and severely everything froze. So this is a little area that we cut some hay last summer, and we made some square bales out of it, but all this area that's just level makes a different sound when you walk on it, but it's just pure ice under 1 inch of snow. And that's what it's like for basically all lower lying areas right now. The water that had come down as big rainstorms didn't have time to drain, and it got so cold so fast that we just have giant sheets of ice anywhere that's not like super high ground. So I don't know how this is going to affect like our hayfield areas. I don't know how it's going to affect different kinds of vegetation. Most stuff that grows here is pretty hardy, but what it's used to and what it's adapted to is frozen dirt that gets an insulating layer of snow on top of it. I don't know what things are adapted to being basically part of a giant ice cube. So we won't really know answers to these things until next summer, once everything has had a chance to thaw, see what grows back, see what doesn't. All this has kind of pooled up down here. Didn't have a chance to drain anywhere, probably because the ground beneath it was frozen already. So having all the ground frozen with just an inch of snow on top of it means that even if we were able to get the snow machines unstuck, we wouldn't be able to take them anywhere. You can't really snow machine through an inch of snow. But at least we have dog sleds. Preparing a cozy nest for a passenger here.
Okay.